By the 1950s, Melbourne's rail network was in trouble. Every suburban rail line terminated at Flinders Street Station, and the system was choking. Trains were delayed, platforms were overcrowded, and the city was growing rapidly. In 1954, an idea was proposed that they would build a four-track underground railway circling the CBD. This is now what we call the City Loop. The Melbourne City Loop consists of three stations: Flagstaff, Melbourne Central, and Parliament. Initially, the idea was ambitious, expensive, and controversial. For decades, governments argued over the cost and design, but in 1971, construction finally began. Construction was intense. Crews plastered through rock beneath the city, working just metres below buildings, road, and utilities. Parliament Station alone sits 40 metres underground, making it one of the deepest stations in Australia. The City Loop consists of four independent tunnels, each originally designed for a specific group of lines: the Burnley Loop, the Caulfield Loop, Northern Loop, and the Clifton Hill Loop. Each loop has its own direction and timetable patterns. This design spreads trains across the CBD and reduces pressure on Flinders Street. The City Loop cost around $500 million in 1980s money, equivalent to around $3 or $4 billion today. Over 3,000 workers were involved. Many worked in dangerous conditions underground, dealing with dust, heat, and constant risk of collapse. The construction of the Melbourne City Loop took 14 years, and it was fully completed in May 27th of 1985. The first of the three stations opened was the Museum Station, now called Melbourne Central. It was first opened in January 24th of 1981, and after 4 years, the full City Loop was completed and marked by the opening of the Flagstaff Station. The inaugural City Loop service was run by Melbourne's iconic Hitachi electric trains, which served the suburban rail network from Christmas Eve in 1972 until April in 2014. Known for their unpainted stainless steel exteriors, pointy noses, and lack of air conditioning, these workhorses were designed by Japan's Hitachi but constructed locally in Australia. Melbourne Central is an underground station located beneath Latrobe Street, Swanston Street, and Elizabeth Street. It has a four-platform arrangement and it has two island platforms across two underground levels. The station sits 29 metres deep, roughly a 9-storey building underground, and it was originally named the Museum Station in 1981. It was later renamed Melbourne Central in 1997 after the shopping centre above it. Melbourne Central Station is also connected with the new Metro Tunnel station, State Library. It opened in 2025 in November, and it features one island platform with two tracks. The main Latrobe Street entrance features 12-metre-high columns topped with 70-ton beams, echoing the classical architecture of the State Library. The underground platforms use a three-arch trinocular cavern design, creating a spacious cathedral-like interior. The station also includes 27 escalators, making it one of the most vertically complex stations in Australia. I mean, imagine walking up this during peak hour. Anyway, let's move on to Flagstaff Station. Flagstaff is an underground station located beneath Latrobe Street and William Street. It has a full platform arranged as two platform islands across two underground levels. The station sits 32 metres deep and is originally named after Flagstaff Hill, a historic early colonial signalling point located in the nearby Flagstaff Gardens. It serves Melbourne's legal district, including the Magistrates Court, County Court, and Federal Court. The construction of the station was most challenging out of all three City Loop stations. Unlike Melbourne Central's cut and cover, Flagstaff required deep mining techniques due to the unstable geology. The site sat in a geological sandwich of basalt, silt, and Silurian mudstone, making tunnelling extremely difficult. Despite it having millions of passengers annually, it was the only City Loop station closed on weekends for decades, because the surrounding area was mostly offices. It was only closed on weekends until January 2010, inferred from service changes. It was the final stage of the City Loop project, completing Melbourne's first underground railway network. For our final City Loop station, Parliament Station was opened on the 22nd of January in 1983. The second City Loop station to open after Museum Station. Located beneath Spring Street, Burke Street and Lonsdale Street, it serves Melbourne's government precinct, including Parliament House, Treasury Gardens, Princess Theatre and St Vincent's Hospital. Like most of City Loop stations, it has 4 platforms arranged as 2 island platforms across 2 deep levels. The construction for Parliament Station was no easy job either. To reach platforms, passengers ride some of the longest escalators in the Southern Hemisphere, as Parliament is one of the deepest stations in Australia. The station was built using deep bore tunnelling, not cut and cover, due to the steep hill of Spring Street. The platforms are built inside 2 enormous caverns blasted out of hard Silurian rock. Construction required extensive rock bolting, shotcrete lining, sequential excavation to prevent collapsing. This made Parliament the most geologically complex of the 3 original loop stations. Now that we have finished talking about the 3 City Loop stations, I also want to talk about Flinders Street and Southern Cross. The 2 stations play a major role in what we call the full City Loop, as it connects the entire loop as a whole. Flinders Street Station is the reason why the City Loop exists. Its extreme congestion in the mid-20th century directly shaped the design, purpose and operation of the loop. The loop was built to relieve Flinders Street, connecting more lines through the CBD and eliminate the need for trains to reverse directions at the terminus. Imagine having all of Melbourne's suburban rail lines terminating at one station. Originally, loop trains changed direction midday. Morning trains run into the loop before Flinders Street, and in the afternoon, trains run out of the loop after Flinders Street. This pattern was designed around balancing peak loads at Flinders Street. Although the pattern was later abandoned, it shows how central Flinders Street was to loop planning. Trains that stop in Flinders Street can have dwell times of from 20 seconds all the way to 15 minutes. Longer scheduled layovers between 5 to 15 minutes are very common at Flinders Street. This happens when trains are terminating or originating, ending their journey and waiting for their drivers to switch cabs or change routes. While the 20-second dwells are usually for through trains that go through the City Loop and back to the original destination. Now for the final station of our video, Southern Cross. Southern Cross Station is located on the western side of Melbourne CBD, and it directly shapes how the City Loop operates. It is the second busiest station in Melbourne, and it terminates all V-Line regional services, making a critical interchange that influences how trains flow into and out of the City Loop. Southern Cross, located at the western edge of the CBD, supports Docklands, Marvel Stadium and the Collins Street Business District. It balances the CBD by drawing passengers westward, reducing pressure on Flinders Street and the Eastern Loop stations. It supports CBD decentralisation, similar to how Parliament and Melbourne Central decentralise the East and North. Well, that's all I got to say about Melbourne City Loop. I hope you enjoyed the video and please consider liking and subscribing, as I spend a lot of time into making these videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.